Y'all better grab a drink for this one. This is gonna be a serious one. I've started recording this a few times now, and every time I kind of stopped because I don't really know how to say this, and this is like not a scripted video at all, so I'm just gonna say it clearly. Frontline Scavenge is over. This isn't a break while I wait for a few mods to update. This isn't me trying to pressure anybody into fixing something that I broke in the past or, anything like that. I'm permanently ending the project. The server will not be reopening. I'm finished developing the map, and I'm not gonna attempt another rebuild. Frontline Scavenge started back when it started, like a year ago, I think? Or maybe longer. Doesn't matter. Frontline Scavenge started because I wanted to make the Arma server that I just couldn't find anywhere else. Something hardcore, but without all the nonsense attached to that. I also didn't want arsenals where everyone immediately builds the perfect loadout, and I didn't want a progression system forcing you to grind ranks before you're allowed to have fun. You spawned with basic equipment, and if you wanted something better, you had to go out in the world and find it. You searched buildings, you fought over objectives, looted bodies, and slowly built a kit out of whatever you managed to survive with. So finding a good weapon, good attachments, a good loadout actually meant something. Losing that loadout actually hurt, and that was the entire idea. And slowly but surely that became a real game mode. I built a custom map filled with objectives, things like industrial areas, vehicle depots, mortar sites. I had hidden storage locations so you could build fobs, buildings that could all be searched for loot. We have, things like physical logistics, persistent storage. After 6 months of complaining, I also added drones. We had limited vehicle use so people wouldn't just zoom out of spawn and go from A to B constantly. Night fighting was added with MVGs and night vision scopes. We had a bunch of different roles. Supply runs, private operations. We had people digging in around objectives with, sandbags, mortar positions, heavy machine guns, the whole shebang. And we had a community helping decide what the server should become. I would put up things like YouTube polls, Discord polls. I would just read comments, and then eventually I would disappear into the night, into my little computer, opening Infusion tools, trying to turn all those ideas into something that actually works. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes the entire mission caught fire because I placed a large banana in the background, but when Frontline Scavenge worked properly, it was brilliant, man. And it wasn't like we were dying out at all. We had events where the server was full. We had squads fighting over equipment in specific locations. We had people voluntarily spending 3 hours running Logi back and forth just because people need ammo. People need, building materials or a cool scope for their cool gun. Players became protective over the gear that they had found. Like a stolen rifle could almost create like a diplomatic crisis in the server. Someone would find a ridiculous strat that I had never considered while building out the map or the mode. But suddenly half the server was doing that. We were pretending to be soldiers, but we weren't really pretending to be a professional military unit at all. We were, and we still are, the 69th Motorized Dingus Division. But underneath all the chaos, people genuinely worked together, and that's what kept me building it out. It wasn't the, beautiful files on my computer, or it wasn't the map. It was, logging in and recognizing the names that are already waiting in the server. It was seeing people learn how the mode worked, and then teaching the next group. It was watching something that began as an idea in my head become a place where people wanted to spend their whole Saturday. That part meant a lot to me. But of course, behind the scenes, maintaining it took an insane amount of time. And me being the stubborn bastard that I am, I wanted to do everything solo. Now I have about 840 hours recorded in Infusion Tools. Arma Reforger on Steam shows me I have about 975 hours. And, to be honest, like 150 hours of Arma were on a different server, which still leaves me with about 925 hours, or 825 hours, in my own server. That puts the directly recorded time connected to Frontline Scavenge around 1660 hours. Now those are only the hours that Steam records. Steam doesn't record me planning stuff out, researching mods, literally drawing the maps on a piece of paper, organizing events, testing systems, making reference material, reading all you guys' feedback, writing out announcements, fixing things outside of the game, and then, a full-time job and YouTube as a hobby on the side on top of that. That adds at least like another 200 hours. So realistically speaking, Frontline Scavenge has taken close to 2,000 hours of my life. And I don't regret creating any of it. I want to make that very clear. Those hours gave us the map, the events, the Discord, and all the moments we had together, but far too many of those hours were just spent repairing things that had already worked. Because for those who don't know, every major Arma update becomes something a server owner fears. Because you never know which weapon mod is going to survive, or which vehicle mod is just going to disappear from the workshop. What systems are going to keep working and which ones are gonna stop functioning. Sometimes players suddenly can't join. Sometimes the mission just crashes your server. Sometimes one broken, mod dependency took half the server with it, because it removes terrain for some reason. And none of this is me blaming the mod creators, honestly. The only reason Frontline Scavenge is possible at all is because of mod creators. Most of them make this stuff for free in their spare time. They don't control when Arma updates their game or what those updates might change. The problem is trying to build a large, heavily modded project on top of a platform that just, keeps shaking underneath it. Because I remember update 1.7 that broke, the previous version of Frontline Scavenge, and I had to rebuild everything. I moved onto a smaller portion of the map, which was only trenches, just so we could keep the people playing while I worked till 5 a.m. just to fix the actual server. And that took months. I rebuilt the mission, I replaced broken systems, I reduced the mod list. I kept testing things until eventually Frontline Scavenge just reappeared out of the fucking ashes. I told myself that we had survived the worst of it, and then this latest update 1.8 arrives and, the mission stopped launching properly, loadouts broke, the loot system is broken. Core parts of the experience are now just either broken, completely unusable, or abandoned. And so once again, I was looking at a project that would need to be pulled apart and rebuilt fully before we could return to where we had already been, and this time I couldn't do it, because this update arrived at the worst possible time. And I'm not saying this to make this video more dramatic. I'm not gonna turn what happened into content. All you guys need to know is I recently lost my mom. Her death did not create any problems with the game or with the server, of course. It didn't break Arma or shut down any systems, but it has changed how I look at my time. 2,000 hours doesn't feel like a number on Steam anymore. Those are real hours from my life that I should have spent doing anything more important. Spending those hours building something can be totally worth it. Playing games with friends is totally worth it. Sitting in Discord every single day and laughing at absolute nonsense with total strangers is still worth it. But I can't look at another month-long rebuild and convince myself that repairing the same project over and over and over again is how I want to spend my time. I lack the motivation right now. I simply don't have the energy or the focus to even open Infusion tools and just stay busy with that right now. And if I can be completely honest, I no longer care enough about keeping an Arma server alive solo to force myself through this. The little time that I have left that I call free time, I'd rather do something that I enjoy. Now, all of this might sound harsh, but it is the truth. Like, there are more important things in life, and whatever energy I do have, I want to use it to move forward and not get stuck on rebuilding the same thing for a 5th time now and spend every update wondering, when am I going to have to rebuild this entire thing again? And so Frontline Scavenge is ending here. Not temporarily. There's no secret reopening planned. There's no big fireworks show where we all play for one more time on the server. I'm not handing the server over to anyone else. I'm not releasing a ready-to-run version for somebody else to continue, because that's just not how the project was set up. Frontline Scavenge depended on my custom map, a bunch of custom systems, specific mods, regular events. Handing someone a broken collection of files and telling them to fix it is not gonna preserve Frontline Scavenge. It's only gonna delay the ending, is the way I see it. I would rather be honest with you now than, try and keep saying, soon, while knowing that I don't want to work on it anymore. That doesn't mean I suddenly hate Arma Reforger, alright? I'm pretty sure I'm still gonna be playing it occasionally. You may see it on the channel every now and then. I'm just finished being responsible for maintaining an entire server inside of it. I do want to thank everyone who helped make Frontline Scavenge what it became. The staff, the GMs who gave literal time out of their day for this thing. The regulars who showed up every day. The people who taught new players how everything worked. The mod creators who gave us the equipment and systems we built. Just, everyone who voted in polls, like everyone who reported problems, if you suggested ideas, if you sent in footage or joined one of our events, thank you so much. There's no way for me to repay you. And even, completely useless ding guy who ignored every objective and, somehow ended up 3 kilometers away from the only vehicle that they brought out, you guys were part of it too. Frontline Scavenge was never perfect. To those who know, a lot of it was held together with questionable decisions, a whole lot of stubbornness on my end, and, whatever the Infusion equivalent of duct tape is. Some people might call it their little slice of heaven. Secretly, it was my little slice of hell. But at least it was our slice of hell. For a while, I genuinely think we built the console server that nobody else wanted to build. And when I look back at it, I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, the final broken update is the only thing I remember, right? I want to remember the full events, the crazy firefights, the infinite supply runs, the seemingly infinite mortars coming from the same tree line for 3 hours without getting attacked by anyone because, no one looks at their map. The stupid plans that somehow had stupid results, players screaming in proxy chat, and the feeling of, standing somewhere on that map, knowing that a few months earlier, none of it existed. The Discord is staying open. The 69th Motorized Dingus Division is not disappearing. We're still gonna play games together. We're still gonna run events and create more stupid memories. We just aren't gonna build the entire community about one Arma server anymore. I want to start trying different games, especially crossplay games that allow the console and PC sides of the community to still stick together. Maybe we eventually find another game that deserves its own server. Maybe we rotate between several different games. Maybe whatever comes next is not gonna look anything like Frontline Scavenge. At this point, I honestly, genuinely don't know yet. And I don't want to announce some rushed replacement just so I can pretend that I have life figured out. I think on social media there's enough of that fake having life figured out bullshit, so I'm not gonna do that. Right now we're gonna take our time, play different things, and see what actually works for us. If you still want to be part of that, definitely stay in the Discord and help us choose what comes next. If you played Frontline Scavenge, feel free to, leave your best memory from the server in the comments down below. Not because it'll come back because of that, but, just because I'd like there to be some place where we can remember what we built together. It's a big weight off my shoulders to just say all these things now. Nearly 2,000 hours is a lot to leave behind. Some of those hours were frustrating, some of them were definitely time wasted. But a lot of them gave me memories, and especially now that I look back at it, I got a lot of friendships that I would never have had without this project. So despite how it ended, I'm glad that we built it. I'm glad you guys played it, and I'm actually kind of proud of what I managed to create. But it is time for me to let it go. Thank you all for playing, thank you for being part of it, and thank you very much for watching this video. My name is TJ. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.